go through the 4 or 5 years of a university knowing that this thing I'm studying, I don't think I can use it. So when I finish, I'm going to now go and relearn something new to start all over again.
Today in the political scene, right, we see that little or no youths are actually there, and it's best to tell your stories the way you see it than someone else telling your own story.
You don't have that money. The most way a young person makes inroads into political spaces, you have a backer,
Exactly.
which can tend to lead to you having a godfather. The same money someone used to do all of that like 6-7 years ago, that money today is not enough for you to pay rent.
It's true when I see that, it's not only me that is going through this issue, it's all of us together.
Because we are just as creative, innovative, we have ideas too. We just need to have that, okay, when I take this risk, if I fail, I'm not dying, exactly, I'm not going to square one.
Hi guys, welcome to Timeline. It's been a lovely ride so far. It's been amazing, and I'm very sure that you've been enjoying the journey right from episode 1 to where we are today. It's been a long ride, and today I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me on the table Amadine Ugberi.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome to the table once again.
Thank you.
And this time around, it's just two of us discussing.
Yeah, it's like a man cave this time.
More like
the issue I want to talk about today is also pretty nice. Am I supposed to pretend I don't know the topic yet? But anyway, let's do this. Let's just do it. You can introduce
no problem.
It, but we're here to do justice to it.
We're here to do justice to the topic, and I mean it's something that's very relatable amongst us. We're talking about challenges facing youth in Africa today. In Africa, with the youngest population in the world, with over 60% of her population being youths are under 25. It's a very amazing one that all of these youths around Africa are still facing several challenges here and there. According to the World Bank, they say that at the moment, unemployment rate in Africa for youths is around 12.6%, with a majority of them being underemployed. It's a very interesting one to see that today African youths are facing numerous challenges in different sectors. And I think the very first one I will start with is education. It's also said that even with the fact that some of these youths are well educated, right? They've gone to school, they know this. They are well grounded when it comes to education. They have all of the best degrees. They still face all of these challenges one way or the other. And it brings us to the question of what kind of education are they even having in the first place? It means that they're not having a top quality education that will make them be able to face the world, to be able to do well even in their own community.
I've always had this idea. People say ideas are cheap. George R.R. Martin said that, which is true, because you have a ton of ideas if you don't execute it. So I want to say here now, and maybe one of our viewers is going to take that idea and do something with it. I've always felt there's a gap between when students are leaving high school or secondary school and going to uni, particularly in third world countries, Nigeria and the rest. What you see is fairly recently and some years back, doctor, lawyer, accountants, what else is there? Engineering.
Those are the top tier. And if it's not just that for you, you're not doing anything.
So basically what we see in universities is that all the other courses that exist is people who tried for these ones and couldn't get it. Most times, I'm not saying it's always the case. So what I always felt is there's this gap that could be filled. If someone woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to be responsible for some sort of counseling where people get to know, how the current world trends are, what is needed out there in the world, what's going to make you competitive. And the thing is, this thing change, So as of today, I can tell you that the world might need more of this profession.
Yes.
And some people are actually good enough to project that based on this thing happening, even with the new president of this country and the new prime minister in this country.
With the way trends are going now, like it's possible in the next 5 years, we're expecting that we'll need more people in this field than this field.
And so with those projections, people can now go into, this counseling and know that this is where we're going to end up. So that's one gap that I see that leads to a lot of youths becoming or having skills that are not useful in today's world.
Yeah, over the years, right? How jobs are being gotten have shifted. Before now, it was either you have to go to school to be able to have a degree, and then after having your degree, then you now go to what's it called, to go and look for a job and things like that. But is already shifting to a place where it's more about what you can do. Not even I know people that have jobs even while we're still doing their first degree and things like that.
Yeah.
I know people that had their first jobs, and when they are probably just finished secondary school, probably they could just edit a video one way or the other, and they're good at it, and they had their first job, or they could edit sound, or they could just do something that is outside the four walls of the classroom, basically, and they were able to get their first job. And I think it brings us to the next thing, because if we say that people don't have jobs, right, that's talking about unemployment. Okay, people have gone to school, people don't have jobs now. I think that leads us to the next point, in the sense that with all of this now, I've gone to school, I've spent so much money in school, invested I mean, education is very expensive wherever you may be in the world, right? Like, after spending so much money, and then you're coming out with your degree, and then you don't have a job to go into, I think the next phase is that such person will begin to face the brunt of the economy. The economy is going to be so hard on you, and if the economy is hard on someone, right, then it brings us to the fact that there will not be poverty in the land. I mean, the percentage of unemployed youth that we have in Africa, for example, now according to the World Bank, is not so much, just about 12%. And
it's much, compared to how, it's based on what standards should be. It's actually much.
Okay, my point, I was even going to the fact that they are
compared to others, right?
They are compared to others. And there are some places where, even in Africa, right, there are some people who are employed, but underemployed. Underemployed in the sense that I'm employed, but I'm probably not earning enough up to the minimum wage and things like that. So even what I'm getting is just to satisfy my basic needs,
with
and just that.
With underemployment, you have people who study pharmacy. They are in the bank now. They are getting customers. That's still underemployment. And so it's like people go through the 4 or 5 years of a university knowing that this thing I'm studying, I don't think I can use it to have a living.
Yeah.
So when I finish, I'm going to now go and relearn something new to start all over again. So, and the problem with unemployment is it's a ticking time bomb, because the moment someone is not engaged, is not meaningfully employed, it goes back to that age-old saying, an idle man is the devil's workshop.
Exactly.
Because the person they're silent, they're thinking, how do I make this money?
It brings crazy thoughts into one's mind, actually, because now you are just waking up in the morning, and then you're in your house thinking of what to do, looking at the ceiling and things like that, nothing to eat on the table. You're hungry.
And then you're angry.
Exactly. Like, an hungry man is an angry man, right? And all of these things will just translate one way or the other into crime into the society. Because for that person now, his goal is to get food. And anything that I think there are people who do anything just to get food. And we could now trace all of this now again back to the crime rates in all of these regions. I mean, crime rates in Africa is kind of high, right? But it's on the high side. And that's because of, if we have enough jobs, right, for the youth and things like that, we won't be having all of these issues. Like, we won't be having so many people that are poor in our society and all of those things.
Yeah, and if you're training them well, again, like I said, they are coming out easily ready to make
face
money.
the society.
I saw some anonymous tweets the other day of someone basically asking that he had come into a certain amount of money. What should he do? How should he invest? And he had a lot of advice being given to him. And one that I particularly noted was that people said, take this money, invest it, take this money, do this, take this little money, enjoy yourself, maybe buy soya or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one thing that was common that I saw from seasoned people who are successful, was that use part of that money to develop yourself to the point that, you won't need to, depend on money that just came out of the blue.
Yeah.
So that's why some things that people might look down on when you finish school and you're doing masters, and someone is like, why are you doing masters? You're doing masters, you're doing another masters, you're doing a PhD. I'm not saying you should be doing this thing as if you are collecting infinity stones like you're Thanos, but you should know that when you do all of these things,
they should be pointed at a goal, not that today just go and pick master's form and then you're back again in school.
And that final form, ideally, when you now have that master's, it should mean that in the job market, you are now like a hot cake.
Yes.
I saw the other day in one of the central banks of an African country that their staff, their workforce had about over 100 and something plus PhDs in a department or several of departments. And you understand that probably part of the reason those people got to PhD was that they knew that in this sector to work here, we need this. So the point I'm trying to make is that there should be energy put into, or part of the issue here is that there's not enough energy put into developing yourself and preparing yourself for the world that is. Which brings me to something that personally is an issue for me, which is that as young people that we are right now, the thing is, people don't understand how hard it can be. The older generation can look at us sometimes. You people are not working hard. You are not serious. In my time, I would trek 20 years and get water bits and go to school and do it. Fine. But after you did that, Naira or whatever currency we're talking about was very close to dollar.
Exactly. The exchange rate wasn't so high.
My dad used to tell me, we have a big compound that I grew up in. 5,000 Naira. That's what he used to buy that land.
My father's land where he built his house, right? One of his houses is like 19,000. Like, so, and compared to what it is now,
can you use it to get good food today?
No.
So that's the pain that I feel a lot of younger generations, Gen Z and all the rest. Because I'm personally, I hover. I don't really know. Let's not go into that.
We're actually in that boat. Let's not go into that.
But the point I'm trying to make, I think that we should have some empathy for young people because the time they are meeting and the time that other people meet is enough for somebody to lament and say, why did you ruin things for me? Back in the day, using some examples, a regular job, finish school,
exactly. There's already a job, but you just go and then apply.
If you have a babe, get your babe, marry her.
Exactly.
Get your first car. The projection was always now, like that. The same money someone used to do all of that like 6-7 years ago. That money today is not enough for you to pay rent.
Exactly.
So the economy has to, affects all of these things, and it makes it so as if you are moving forward, but you are not going anywhere.
I used to make this joke myself that, okay, the money I make this month isn't enough to sustain me for the next month. So at the back of my head, let's say, for example, I'm spending 100,000 this month. At the back of my head, I have it in mind that next month, my expenses is going to be more than this because of how things just continue to change, not even gradually. You could just go to the market today and then what you're buying before for 100 Naira is now times 5 the price and things like that. And it makes one want to always be at check. I mean, today now, in our environment, if as a young guy you're just coming out of a university or wherever, right? You're expected that you see yourself, you probably want to have a house, do all of these things. That's how it was done. I mean, for my dad now, for example, after NYC and things like that, he didn't go back to his father's house, right? He went to go and get his own house and things like that. But me, on the other hand, right? I mean, what he used to get an apartment then is more like, is very little there, right? Compared to now. Now, in trying to get an apartment, I'm looking at very huge sum of money, and I'm like, nah, it's not time yet. So it's more like, for me, it's more, in fact, even on X now today, you always see it that don't leave your father's house. I've seen tweets like that numerous times. And it's not just. And one thing that actually makes me laugh is because it's not just Nigerians that actually tweet about things like that. If you should penetrate into what's it called, Ghana X, what's it called, Zimbabwe, and all of these things, you see similar tweets, similar comments here and there.
Issue,
Exactly, it's an African issue. It's all encompassing. It's all of us that are all in this thing. And I think another thing again that we should actually look at is the political exclusion. Today in the political scene, right, we see that little or no youths are actually there. And it's best to tell your stories the way you see it than someone else telling your own story. I mean, I understand my problems and you understand your problems and you understand how I face it. You understand how you face it and I also understand how I face it, right? It's more like we're having people taking decisions for us, and then decisions to us, they don't even really matter because we don't even see how it affects us per se. We don't see how all of these things change anything. We don't see the change. We're expecting change now, and then it happens that, the change is coming far off and things like that. It shouldn't be like that, right? It should be like we are there making our own decisions, ensuring that one way or the other being represented. Because if we are really, there will be more policies that are directed into youth, and we understand that all of these things are the youth development really matters.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just representation for representation's sake. It's also the fact that when you exclude youths, you're actually excluding in a lot of youth. I don't want to say youth.
Like it's a lot of population that are really excluded. I mean, in Africa, for example, now we have 60% of its population being
minus a
youth.
number too. It's also, I want to say this in a respectful way, so it doesn't look as though I'm disrespecting other demographies.
Yeah.
But the point is that with youths, you have that youth factor. They are young, they are vibrant, they are energetic, and they can also think outside the box. You know, a lot of things they tell you what an elder sitting down. The youth cannot sit standing on the Iroko tree.
That's an African proverb.
It's true. It's true, obviously, to an extent. But the thing is, sometimes it also requires a youth to push the line to say, "Okay, this is fire, and we've been told that it burns us, but I want to try something, and let me put this thing inside this fire with my hand.
See what will happen."
And then maybe after doing that, you discover something. You discover barbecue. You discover how to. The point I'm making is that's bravery or lack of fear, which can also be sometimes stupidity or youthful exuberance, can lead to some positive things. So you excluding them is already an issue. And we started all this with the economic aspect, and then it all cascades down. That's why now when you look
all of these challenges are actually intertwined. I mean, we went from education to unemployment to economy, and all of these things are just seem to be intertwined, like entangled
and when you look at this
with
political
each other.
aspect now, that money is still playing a role. Because the money is still vested largely in the hands of the older generation.
Exactly.
So, and that now, in two ways now, for the political aspect, in all the African countries, when you want to run an election, it's not all the African countries, even in the West, in the United States, if you want to run an election, what happens there is even that they do fundraisers. You know, Donald Trump might be a billionaire, Biden might be a millionaire, whatever their own personal net worth is, nobody really cares. When it's time to run for election, you are not expected to just bring your personal money.
Exactly.
You must fundraise and all of that. So for young people here, you don't have that money. The most way a young person makes inroads into political spaces, you have a backer.
Exactly.
Which can tend to lead to you having a godfather.
Yeah. And it's something we preach
the one who controls you.
Exactly.
Which means you are not really the one in charge. In the flip side, you have people, because youths, based on definition, 35, sometimes up to 40, they are still youths. You have people who are that
35.
Grown, 35, okay. Yeah. You have people who are that grown, still groveling.
Still managing, still
you see them, are flocking around these older rich men, hoping for handouts, hoping for help, hoping for favor. And then you tune to the developed nations and you see someone who's your age mate. He's leading a country.
Exactly.
In today. The vice president of America is a young guy.
Exactly.
Emmanuel Macron in France.
He's a young guy.
These are all young people. Yeah. But somewhere else, maybe in Nigeria or in Chad or wherever, somebody is telling you that you are too young to be looking at councillor position, or you are too young to be looking at this legislator. No,
just you just be your own probably party leader or something like that.
These challenges are what youths are really facing, and it's not fair, to be honest. But I guess there are solutions, and maybe there are ways. And also, we also talk about crime already.
Exactly.
Again, because if you have all these issues, you need something. And you're going to start thinking, and you think dark thoughts and all of that, and it might lead you to start doing things. I think the other day I just saw a statistic from Bloomberg, I think, about how much fraud the fraud industry is making, and it went up to the billions of dollars, which is almost on par, if not on par, with drug and all of that.
Exactly.
So crime is becoming so rampant.
It's alarming now.
And usually, again, most people it's not, no offense, it's not an 80-year-old man who's running around, trying to.
Exactly.
He doesn't have that energy anymore.
It's the young population that does.
So he doesn't have that. So if we realize that, these people, all this energy, those billions of dollars in the fraud industry, not to say it's only youths that are doing it, by the way.
Yeah.
All those billions of dollars, if we should take them to something legitimate, I mean, we could be way better, more developed than this.
Exactly. Okay, we're going on a short break now. Once you're back, we'll continue with the discussion, talk about the challenges that youths are facing currently in Africa.
Every day, Amazing stories of hope and tenacity unfold across the globe. On Hued Hour, we dive into these inspiring tales and discuss the vital work being done in the humanitarian and development space. Humanity has never faced a shortage of challenges, yet we rise stronger through teamwork and determination. Though these remedies are often underreported, on Hued Hour, we advocate sustainable solutions. We bring you the latest and most impactful news on how lives are being changed. We engage with young change makers and experts who provide valuable insights into relief efforts and the challenges faced by local communities through a global perspective. Join us every Wednesday by 8 a.m. on Hued Network's YouTube channel as we embark on this journey of positive change.
Hey everyone, let's face it, our world today experiences numerous challenges. And guess what? Our community isn't off the hook either. Most of the world issues are either not talked about enough or never talked about at all. But here on Timeline, we've got you covered. We dive deep into issues that affect us every day, leaving behind footprints of wisdom, knowledge, and solutions. Think of it like a roadmap that keeps you on the track for success. So buckle up, because in this new season of Timeline, we're taking another trip through the past, the present, and navigate into a more promising future. Again, we're talking solutions, people. And let's make one thing clear. This is not your average blah, blah, blah convo. This is real talk with a side of inspiration and a sprinkle of wow. I never thought about it like that. I'm your host on this impactful ride. Together, we'll tackle the tough stuff, laugh a little, and find ourselves on the path to positive change. So what are you waiting for? Season 2 of Timeline will be loaded. Let's get started. Hop in, and let's drive straight into the heart of issues shaping our world. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Hit that subscribe button and let's take this ride together.
Have you ever been in a space where everyone's talking about complex or complicated issues? It's interesting because if they are complex and complicated, how does everyone know about them if they truly do? It's like your social media feed. Sometimes it feels like just one big puzzle, like a basket of hot takes and wild theories, unverified claims, and those moments that leave your head spinning and spinning. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to find on your phone. Maybe aliens are invading, or the earth is not round, it's actually flat. Okay, those are figments of imagination, but admit it, for a second there, you weren't entirely sure if I was right or wrong, were you? But here's the thing, being confused by all this is normal, but getting to the truth, well, that's about to get a whole lot easier as we unravel things that have been shrouded in mystery and confusion no matter the field. Now on Untangle, we take those complicated and confusing topics swirling around your feed and break them down piece by piece by piece until everything clicks into place. Every week right here alongside an expert in the field, we're going to tackle a topic that's got everyone talking. It could be a viral trend you're not sure about, a scientific concept that keeps popping up, a new law or an event, or one of those stories that just won't go away. No fancy jargon, no unnecessary complexity, just clear, straightforward answers that you can actually use. So join us every Monday by 10 a.m. weekly on Hued Network's YouTube channel. And when you do, be ready to untangle.
Yeah, welcome back. We're still talking about the challenges that are facing youths. I mean, they're facing me, myself, and also Amadine Ugbery. Like it's been a lovely one so far. We've listed a number of them, and I think one way or the other, we see that social media actually has the role that it plays in it. I think the very first one is talking about it, right, which is the awareness. One way or the other, we've gone back to X, like in our conversation, talking about how we see things on X. It happens in this place, it happens in that place, it happens here in Nigeria as well. I think one thing that social media does is just to bring into into the public domain that, oh, this thing is really happening, and more like you're not in it alone, right? For me, it's suiting when I see, I'm not saying that it's good, right? But it's suiting when I see that, oh, it's not only me that is going through this issue. It's all of us together. I mean, when I was in school, right? If you don't see a result and they say that result is out, and then it's only you that has that complaint, you know that there's a big problem. But if it's like a number of people that are facing through that kind of thing, you know that, oh, to be resolved quickly. So it's more like seeing that, oh, this you're also going through this. It's interesting to see that you as well are going through this.
I think there's a word for that. There's joy in misery. I mean, there's misery in company or company
exactly.
misery, something like that. Yeah, I think social media plays a role here. Could be positive, it could also be negative. But
Exactly.
I feel youths themselves should view it as mostly positive. I'm not trying to discount the negative aspect, but why I say that is that a lot of the problems we've highlighted in the first stage of this, sometimes social media can help that. Because I've seen so many situations, which is why maybe we should do it. Okay, we're not at the stage where we recommend yet, but what I'll say is this: if you have two people who are both professionals or in a job or thereabouts or in the same field, there's one who is very active on social media, popular, well known.
Exactly.
There's another who is as good, maybe even better at that work, but is not visible. The one who has the visibility tends to, get more opportunities and a lot of that. Even from what we do here at Huge Network, we often have to reach out to organizations, NGOs who are making impactful change. If you are making impactful change and nobody's hearing about
exactly,
it,
like,
we can't find you.
It means you're not doing anything actually. That's what it simply means.
Essentially what it's becoming.
You are doing something, right? Oh, you probably have this large firm where your whole goal is just to ensure that you train youth, and after that, give them jobs in the society. And then no one can find you on social media. Like, it's more like you are putting water into a basket, because it's just going.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount the efforts they are making behind the scenes and all of that. It's great, but you just know that you need to leverage on it and use it for the best. Because again, there are plenty negatives. But if you want to sit down and think of all the negatives alone, you're not going to go anywhere.
Sure.
So there's a particular example of two first-class students, both of them back first class. The other one, we don't know who they are. They didn't post it. They just went away. And there was someone else who made a big hurrah about it, posted it. I'm glad I did this. This is how I went through this. This is how I got it. And offers started coming in, and they just had to select and all of that. But there are the negative aspects too. We still have youths who, because they are unemployed and don't have work, they are bullying people online.
Exactly.
They are cyberbullying. And they are seeing it as an avenue to create what's it called now? A platform for themselves. If I drag this person enough, people will start noticing me. They'll start following me. Then later I can rebrand. But for now, let me just get the followers. This kind of thoughts enter people's heads.
I mean, we've seen we've seen artists, right, that have to go back and delete their old tweets. And I think a very big example is Benson, for example. Like when he was young, while still in school, he made some crazy tweets about a number of people that he now drinks. And also they share tables together now, right? He made a lot of things about them here and there, and now he had to go back and start deleting all of these tweets. And he used to mention that when he was making all of those tweets, it was in his house after school, that kind of thing. And he was just tweeting what was on his mind. I mean, I think he even said one on Burna Boy. And at the end of the day, is even Burna Boy that actually brought him into the limelight. And all of this. And I think another thing again that we should also talk about social media is misinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, today now, if you want to be misinformed, like you intentionally want to be misinformed, don't go to your ex, Facebook, even as
your ex.
Yeah,
you mean the app?
Yeah, the app X, like Twitter.
Okay.
Go to X. Go go back to X. Go to even WhatsApp. So like all of these apps, all of the social media apps, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook is another guy again that we should also be on the outlook for. Like just go there. Read and just anything that looks like news to you, just read it, right? And then go out there and then now say that, oh, this is what it is. And you just see the level of misinformed people that are on social media. Because even under a misinformed post, right, we would see numerous comments passing their own misinformation again together with that misinformation, and then anyone that tries to correct them that, oh, this thing is not like this, so this is how it truly is. They see that person as the enemy, they target the person, and then once again, cyberbullying comes in again. See, all of these things are just intertwined.
I think it's another major challenge, and I think I've said this before here, but in the history of humanity, as at this moment, there is no other moment in time as at now that humanity has collectively had access to as much information
as now.
as the same time as we do now.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, it's also the time in the history of the world where we've had much access to misinformation as ever. Before, when they say a lie, before the truth can put on its clothes and leave the house, a lie has traveled around the world.
Yeah.
It's doubly true now. It has traveled around the world 50 times before the truth
is
got
now
up.
coming out. Yeah.
But then the truth also has its ways now. So, but the point I'm making is that the social media is a tool, so it can amplify negative and can amplify positives. But people should know how it could affect youth now is how do you use this information or misinformation and allow them affect your life. Because people come in and they become authorities.
Exactly.
You don't know their qualifications, you don't know what you've done, and you are online, you've got a podcast mic on you.
Yeah, and then you are saying things.
And then you just go, if so, this is how you so.
And then someone sitting there like, wow.
And that's what I'm happy about timeline. At least when we turn on the podcast lights and the mic here, you are going to get something
information,
impactful.
like not misinformation, like correct information.
That's it. So I think that's part of a problem that they are facing, youths are facing, and I think it's an issue globally. We've even had cases, but then it's also a place for movement beginning of movements, youth-centered stuff. And I think that maybe that's what you should focus more on, using this to, actually develop themselves and come together.
I was planning on going there next, right? Because we've seen people on X, now formerly Twitter, right, that will just grow into a brand. I mean, look at an example of it might be very controversial, right? But Daniel Rega, for example. Daniel Rega said by commenting on every single body's post. Anybody that posts something, you just see Daniel Rega under your post, and then from there, from just one guy randomly commenting on everybody's post, it became a voice, right? And at the point, he rebranded himself into what he is today. And we've seen a number of people that have followed that route. I mean, we have Elsa from that is also an African, right? And all she did was just with the iPhone 6 there. And a bag of chips, was eating and then was making jokes and things like that. And today she's now a force to
Kabilame, another African, who just points at stuff.
Exactly. About, this is how this person did, and he just points at that. This is a simple way. That just done it like this, and that's all. And now is another global force. And all you see, it boils down to how we can even use the social media as a tool of even creating employment opportunities for people.
Yeah, that's for employment aspect. Another use I'd say is the political aspect. People like to, when it's time for election, people like to tell you, polling units is not on social media.
Exactly.
Go to the streets.
Yes.
But why is it that in a lot of countries, it has happened in Nigeria, I think, I can't quite recall. It was a South American country. I can't remember now. Anyway, I think Brazil also, and some other countries where we've seen that at some point the government shuts down access to X or Twitter and all of that. Even while these things are not shut down, there's a way commentary that comes from X is taken. Yes. And so you start to wonder, if polling units are only in real life and in the streets, why be concerned at all with anything happening on social media?
Yes.
Let people talk. When you finish talking, you do what you do. But the point I'm trying to make is, most governments that are not doing very well understand that this thing has power.
Yes.
This is an avenue for these people to come together. This is an avenue for them to talk to each other.
To raise their voice.
This is why...
This is where they can unite.
Even press releases.
Yes.
I think we talked about it before, that World War III, pardon me, there's no World War III. It seemed as though a World War III was about to begin in Donald Trump's first tenure, where he was tweeting at Iran, something about nukes, or there's things of that nature that I'm going to deal with you and all of that. And everyone was watching in real time that this is a whole new moment in history. This is a world leader, doing all of this. I'm not trying to condemn him or praise him or any of that, but I'm just saying that social media is not as useless as it used to be. The impact on the real world is much more bigger than ever before. So in the past, let's use media houses.
Newsrooms, yes.
You will go out to the world, you will get stories, then you take to social media. Now, things that are said on social media constitute news that
exactly,
is being taken. So it shows you there's power there, and you shouldn't let anybody deceive you that there isn't. You should understand that this is something we can use politically. So when young people are saying, we don't have money, we don't do this, like I said, in America and other countries, it's mostly fundraising. So if a young person has built a brand for themselves, maybe they are doing some work, development, humanitarian, even their own private work in terms of their career, they are doing well and it's visible. Other young, if one day you decide and wake up that, I want to run for governor, I want to run for this, you're more likely to get people who are ready to fund. We've seen a lot of Africans jump onto a cause, maybe because somebody was being dragged because she cooked for her husband.
Exactly.
Now they've given her millions of naira. The other one, has come out and said, so has happened to me. People are fundraising. So if we also use this for politics, we'll see that young people can begin to create their own pathways into politics that doesn't require you needing a godfather or somebody.
Exactly. I think I want to reference back to what's it called, Nigeria election, the last election, where there was a massive movement on social media, right? And I think it also questions the fact that how much of the movement on social media are we able to translate into the real life scenarios? Because if it can happen massively on social media, I mean, then there was this talk there, that talk there on social media, but when in return, right, at the polling unit, I mean, I went to vote. Did you even vote, by the way?
I did vote.
Exactly.
I voted and I walked. Like, I had work that day.
Yeah.
My shifts, I put it in the afternoon so I could go vote in the morning.
That's how it should be.
Isn't now, and the feeling of voting, that's why I always encourage people to vote, participate.
Yeah.
There's a feeling you get that even if the result doesn't turn out the way I want.
I did my part.
I did. I'm a part of that. I can tell my children years from now, look, this is what I had to do so I could vote.
Since when I've been of legal age, like I voted twice now. Like since when I was eligible to vote, I've been voting like right from there. But my point is that if we could just translate in my polling unit, for example, those that were still outside as early as I think I got there around 8 or thereabouts, were the older generations. I could literally just count with my fingers the number of youths that were there in my polling unit. And I asked a few of my friends that were here and there that voted as well. And they said the same thing as well. So, and if you go on Twitter, then, right, you still see all of these guys, this is happening, this is happening. So what are even those solutions now that can use to address all of these problems that we're facing now at the moment? We've talked about the problem of education, talked about the problem of unemployment here and there, and a number of other things. What are these solutions that can be done? I mean, at the moment now, we have there's a Youth Connect Africa. It's a program from the UN that helps to ensure that you talked about development earlier, that where they develop youths and try to train them so that they are able to face the world, basically. And that's a good one. So what are these solutions that can be done, that can be used to address all of these challenges?
Yeah, I think that there are a number of ways it could be done, but I think basically the overall arching idea should be trying to make things as easy as possible for youths. And education is necessary. The education you get in formal settings is one thing, but I hope they can begin to expand to also take things into account. Like I said, for instance, if someone who has a YouTube page or an Instagram page somehow has more reach than, say, a competitor or a media house like CNN is a bit high. Let's say a regular media house in a typical African nation, if one person using Instagram can get that reach or more, doesn't it now imply that maybe the mindset you have about Instagram should change? It should change on both sides, which is to say that you, as someone who is growing up, should know that it's a tool you can use to amplify whatever you are doing. And in that case, it shouldn't be that you should do it the way the people who are doing it now who are not informed are. It should be that, when I have my platform, it's educating, it's something that, impacts and all of that. So you build yourself that way. You don't just listen to some advice that tells you that, so this social media, it will not last, this will not. Meanwhile, the social media is competing with traditional media houses and so on.
Exactly.
On the flip side, I think also we need more career guidance and counseling. I think you can really sit down with someone really hear them out and know that none of those major professions is what's going to, because again, in Africa, we have a lot of love for the titles and all of that. But after a point, you have to understand that what really does it give you at the end of the day?
I mean, today I have a number of baristas that you hear them say, like, there's one I know that has not gone to court for like the past 2 years, not doing anything as regards law at all. And it translates like that in all of these other professions. You see people that are engineers that are doing something else entirely. You see, even you yourself now, you did biochemistry and then now you are here on the table as a media person. I did education. I'm here as well on this table as a media person. And all of these things, it just translates here and there. Like, probably if we had known that, there's this thing called media, right? We won't have found ourselves in the science and probably just from the very beginning, like just groom ourselves there and it just translates like that.
Indeed. And I think also, maybe we can also add government, obviously. They can make active efforts, help people out. Just do the core duties of a government, protect citizens' lives and properties, and just give them an avenue for them to help themselves. And that's enough. Nobody really wants you to come and do something special.
Exactly. You don't need to do too much, actually.
Or palliatives. You can keep that. I mean, give me 24 hours lights. I think I can do very well for myself.
Yeah, with 24 hours.
We have this issue now. Also about moving globally forward. I know in Nigeria there's mention of trying to get fiber optic network in the 774 local governments. Yeah, that's something that you should ensure is done as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, because automatically what it does is it just creates opportunities for so many youths. Like globally, I know eventually we've already talked about. We're going to talk about remote work and all of that. It opens the way for them. So do these things that make it easy for our youth to compete on a global level. Exactly. And I think others to give youth opportunity, give them chance. When they have ideas, don't shoot it down. Let's try and marry it, because sometimes the other day, I think Jeff Bezos was the one who said that one of the reasons why America is so successful in terms of capitalism and why they have some of the biggest companies there, billions of dollars in market revenues, that they are the most risk accepting, so to speak, in terms of where they are. That is to say, if you want to raise this amount of money to do this thing, there's a way things will cover up for you. You are allowed to think outside the box. You are allowed to take risks. You are allowed to make a gamble, a seasoned gamble, and it could pay off. So we need that environment for African youth too, because we are just as creative, innovative. We have ideas too. We just need to have that. Okay, when I take this risk, if I fail, I'm not dying. Exactly, I'm not going to square one. So it will give people that opportunity, and then you're going to see the real African youth.
I mean, with a little push, right? It's expected that youth are going to do exploits, I must say, and not to also. I also want to mention UNDP, right? They also have this program that they call the Youth Leadership Program. So the goal of that particular program is to ensure that they train youth to become leaders, right? And that would, all of those guys, right, we expect them to see them in the political scene in the coming years. I mean, it's been a lovely episode, and we as youth will face challenges, yes. But there's a saying that if life gives you lemonade, if life gives you lemon, you make lemonade out of it. And I think that's what we should try to do. See all of these challenges as opportunities for us. Use all of the tools that we have at hand. Use our voice. Use our social media that we have as our voice, and raise awareness of all of these things. I mean, I have a friend that all of the jobs that he had in his life, even up to date, he got them through social media, and he's doing very well for himself. I mean, he would be at one and then there's another person reaching out to him. It's just because he puts himself out there. And I mean, it's important that we all start putting ourselves out there. Make the world see you. Nobody's going to see you if you remain in your room, but rather make sure you are visible for the world to see you. My name is Paul, and it's been a lovely episode talking about the challenges that are facing youths here in Africa. And with me here was...
I'm Arjun, by the way.
Thanks for coming, guy.
Thanks.
Bye for now, guys.
Bye.